Hello, welcome back everybody. Today I'm going to do a video on a perfume note slash accord. It's one of my favorites actually. Today I'm going to talk about Immortelle and some of my favorite fragrances that contain this note, or where it actually plays quite an integral part to the way that particular scent smells. Now, Immortelle, and you can easily do Immortelle searches for all the fragrance that list them on Fragrantica or Parfums, but it's also known as Helichrysum, which is the scientific name for that plant, an everlasting flower. Now, I didn't know this, but Immortelle apparently is quite an expensive ingredient to use in perfumery due to the fact that, from my limited research, you need about a ton of harvested Immortelle to produce 1 kilogram of essential oil. What I really like about Immortelle is how many different scent profiles you can draw from it. Like at different times, and I guess depending on what it's combined with, it can have this kind of dusty, ambery smell. It's like burnt caramel sometimes. It's syrupy. It can be a little bit powdery. In some instances, it's almost like a dry, toasted hay kind of scent. It's also known as a curry plant because it does have facets of some of the spices that you can use in curry, and I think sometimes it also reminds me of some bitter, it has like a bitter coffee smell at times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 4 fragrances that I currently own where Immortelle is a featured note to me. Well, it definitely stands out to me. And then my 5th fragrance is one that I'm crossing all my fingers I might be able to acquire a bottle at some time this year. But and some of these are reviewed and some I haven't. But the first one I want to talk about is this one here. Probably puts Immortelle front and center as the perfume ingredient and shows quite a few of its facets. And this one's from Annick Goutal. It's Sables, I believe it's pronounced. Some people might read it and pronounce it Sables, but I think in French it's pronounced Sables. And I'm going to do a review on this one shortly, but here, the Immortelle, you do get some of that savory, curry spice facets. It's quite ambery, it's quite syrupy, without ever getting too sweet. There is also a little bit of there's almost like a kind of burnt ambery note in there as well. It is combined with other spices like cinnamon on a more traditional amber base as well. It is a very difficult perfume to kind of describe to me. It's neither sweet nor savory, but has aspects of both, and I'm going to have trouble actually doing a review of this other than to say I obviously really enjoy Sables. Some people would smell that and not like it at all, and that's fine. And I think Immortelle is certainly one of those notes where people might either love or hate when it's quite dominant in a composition. The next one I want to mention is from Histoires, Parfums. It's the wonderful 1740 Marquis de Sade. Here, for me, the Immortelle is what makes the leather a little bit boozy and syrupy in combination with dried fruits accord. I feel like the Immortelle in 1740 pretty much holds, is the glue for the whole composition, and if you took that particular aspect out of 1740, it would just be another fruity, tarry leather. Another one that I have, a beautiful fragrance from Mendittorosa, it's Mat. Here we have rose, a spicy rose paired with a wonderful Immortelle, where, you know, when I try and imagine this scent visually, I imagine like a beautiful bowl full of rose petals, but soaking in syrup, basically. But because it's Immortelle, again, this never gets too sweet. I feel like I always picture a rose in bloom, just kind of what it would look like if it started to melt. Is how I picture Mat, and this is how the Immortelle mentally, visually works for me in this particular composition. The next one I want to talk about is Francesca Bianchi Etruscan water. Now I know she uses Immortelle in quite a few of her perfumes, including Sex and the Sea, Neroli, but here in Etruscan water, where essentially what that scent is to me is almost like an aquatic chypre scent. The Immortelle is kind of providing just the right touch of sweetness to thicken that composition almost. So it gives it a slightly sweeter heart, that, you know, where it's like the bridge from the opening of that, you know, those aquatic notes right into those mossy bass notes as well. The next one is a relatively new one. It's become a favorite of mine, and here the Immortelle again is different. It's Ganymede by Marc-Antoine Barrois. Here, the Immortelle, I get mainly this lovely toasted dry hay facet from it, which suits the rest of the composition really well, because Ganymede is not a heavy, thick scent to me. It's very mineralic. It's got lovely airy violet leaf, and so the use of the Immortelle here just fits right in. It gives it a base to all sit on, but not be too heavy, so it maintains that kind of lightness that this whole particular fragrance is built around. It's really difficult to describe. It definitely gives it presence, but never ever makes it feel too heavy, as it can do in other compositions. So like all the other scents I've already mentioned, the Immortelle gives it some weight where it doesn't work that way in Ganymede. Last one I'm going to talk about, this is the one that I hope I can add to my collection at some point in the near future, or this year at some point. It's Christian Dior Privé collection, or Maison Christian Dior, whatever it's called now. It's Noire. Here, the Immortelle's combined with lavender, coffee, and it just seems to work. Maybe here, I don't know if it's the Immortelle, but there is also like this kind of licorice note. It's not, licorice is not normally a note I really enjoy, but here it just combines with the coffee and the lavender, the brightness of the lavender, the bitterness of the coffee, and it just molds it into something pretty spectacular on my skin. I sprayed this on for the first time a few months ago, and I wasn't expecting a lot, but I could not stop sniffing my skin, and since then I've been lucky to have a decant of it, but it's just made me want a bottle so much more. So I'm very interested to hear about your favorite fragrances that have Immortelle in it as part of as a main part of the composition. So put them in your comments. I hope you found this useful, and I will see you next time. Bye.